Hello, I'm Sam. Welcome to this video, and if you haven't been here before, welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy the content that I have for you today, and please do like, comment and subscribe if you would like to see more. If there is anything in particular that you would like to see us go through, let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to do a bit of a voiceover. I'm going to give this a go. I haven't done a voiceover before on any of my videos. So today's video is just a bit about our dressage training at home. So I thought I might talk you a little bit through who we are, where we're up to, what we're working on, and then kind of what we do work on within our rides as well. So myself, I am in my 40s, amateur dressage rider. I have always been around horses. So Mum bought my first pony for me when I was 2 years old. However, in saying that, I didn't have my first riding lesson until I was 16. So, I always had the pony in the paddock, and every 6 months or so, Mum would go, get out there and ride your pony, otherwise we're going to have to find a new home for it. So we'd go for a ride and keep the pony. However, I really wasn't what you would call passionate about horses until the age of 16. And, from there on, you could pretty much say I became a crazy horse lady. But, when you don't start actually concentrating on your riding and learning how to ride correctly until that late, you've already formed habits within your own biomechanics. So I guess you could say I'm far from being a champion rider. I like to think of myself as a reasonably effective rider, but I'm always working on myself just as much as the horses. So, I've got sets of stretching and strength exercises that I do myself. I try and do those a couple of times a week. Lately, I can't say I've been sticking to that schedule, but I do my best to try to. I'm also conscious of things that I'm working on as a rider as well. So I do have a tendency of bringing my left hand over, so crossing over towards the neck or the middle of the neck. So I need to be quite conscious of that, because what happens there is I then, by crossing that hand over, I stiffen that side of my body, close the left hip joint, which in turn takes the right thigh off of his body, drop my right shoulder, and subsequently put more weight into the right stirrup by straightening my right leg. So I'm very conscious that I can be crooked in that way, and I'm always trying to work on that. So what I've been working on lately is, you may even see when I ride, my left hand will every now and again it'll come out away from the neck. So I'm just trying to every now and again remind myself, just by bringing it out and then bringing it back in. Now, as you can see here, so some of the things that we're working on at the moment with him, the biggest thing is lateral suppleness. So completely understand here, do have him overbent to the inside of the circle, or looks like he's overbent. all I am doing is I'm asking with the inside rein to give, and he has a tendency of leaning on it rather than giving. So it's just, I guess, me not giving up on it and just going, no, come on, you can give, and just waiting for him to give, which doesn't mean it sometimes puts his body in a position that is, like, not preferable. And you'll also see I'm really not concentrating on whether he goes over bent in this ride. Again, I know absolutely not what we are going for. However, just trying to concentrate on a few key things first and then building on that. So because one of the things is, he is a quarter horse cross thoroughbred, so he's half quarter horse, half thoroughbred, so he's built downhill. And so has the tendency of wanting to kind of stiffen his body and then run himself in the ground. So the more I can get his body to relax and more supple through his body, that is going to help us with then going, okay, great. With having that suppleness, having that balance, having that strength, being able to then work more from behind, take more weight on the quarters or the hind legs, and then being able to lift the front and bring that up. And the going over bent is also a factor of him trying to stiffen his neck and stiffen his body. So it's just continuing to work on the body rather than concentrating on what the head and the neck are doing. So, and that for me is really working on finding my seat, so that I do have the tendency of going to my hands. So it's really concentrating, not looking so much at what his head is doing and then trying to micromanage that section of his body, but really just trying to concentrate on my own position and my own seat and how I'm asking for things, and then being better at using my body and my legs to ask for the bend and ask for the uphill and all of those sort of things. And you can see here again, my legs are not stable. They never have been, and I do continue to try and work on things, and I'm continually watching other people's videos to try and pick up tips and ideas as to things to try. I think it is also a factor of never being overly strong in the core, so that's part of the reason I do the stretches and the exercises too, to try and improve that. So I'm doing what I can to improve over time. And particularly here in the walk, you will see my legs move a bit too, because of his tendency of going downhill and wanting to go downhill, and then overbending and arching his back because he thinks that's more comfortable, which it probably is at the point at which he's at with regard to strength and balance. It's taken us a good couple of years to even start to see and feel the difference in his balance and his strength. And then, quite quickly he muscled up. But yeah, you will see, particularly in walk, I do use my legs a lot because he does put a lot of effort into trying to go behind the leg, try and tuck himself up under. You can see him trying to do it there. That's exactly what he's trying to do there. And so you really continually got to remind him, no, come on, forward, come on, step forward and step under yourself. He does even have a tendency of, if you can get that sweet spot, he will go, oh my goodness, he'll do a few steps and go, oh my goodness, this is hard. So if you don't, if you keep on to him and go, no, come on, keep going forward, he will try and either drop the shoulders out, so he'll drop them out to the side, or he'll swing his quarters around to try and not have to step straight under himself. So he finds it quite difficult. We continue to work on it. He's doing quite well there, but that's part of the reason why I don't particularly concentrate so much at this point on if he does momentarily go over bent. I concentrate more on the softness through the neck, softness through the body, and using my seat and aids to ask for that rather than my hands. And then, we just so I always do a lot of walk, or try to do a lot of walk warm-up. And then I'll try and go into a warm-up trot, quite similar as well. So really not asking for much, really just trying to ask him to stay relaxed, stay over his back, step forward under himself, so he's stepping straight. Because again, when we first started, he really did have the tendency of finding that difficult, even just to step straight, and he would swing his shoulders, his swinging quarters. When I would ask him to work over his back, he'd just go, "Oh, this is difficult." And as you can see there, he's doing quite well, and so he's come a long way. But he'll go for a few steps, and then he'll go, "Oh, this is hard. I don't want to do it." But it's really just keeping with it so that he can build that balance and strength, and he can feel better within himself. So yeah, we normally just do, a round or two of the arena to start off with. Here, I'm just asking for that give in the inside rein again, just to relax. When I ask for that give, it is give. It's not pulling on the rein. It's not speeding up, which he has a tendency of doing as well. We've been working lately as well, really on just actually slowing down our trot. So you can see slightly there, he does not want to go forward. He's trying to avoid going forward, so he brought his quarters in. And so how I can normally straighten that up is I'll just take a bit more weight on the outside rein. However, here, just trying to get that inside bend. So just, I guess you could say, somewhat ignoring that for a moment while we are concentrating on this, because he does know, he picks up on things very quickly. So he very quickly learns all the little tips and tricks as to how to get out of really properly working through his body. And so for me, even my instructor says, she's like, sometimes you just need to actually stick with it a little bit more. Like, don't be so nice for him. Don't give up so easy. So yeah. Like I said, suppleness is the biggest thing for him, and building that suppleness is going to be our way of really establishing elementary for us, because it's when you get into the elementary, it's more engagement, more impulsion. They're looking for much more uphill tending movement. Which for him, as you can see, even there, it's going to be balanced movement for him. It's never going to be uphill, because he's not built uphill. So Marty is a 10-year-old quarter horse cross thoroughbred. And I've now had him 3 years. At the end of this month, so at the end of February, it will be 3 years. It really did take us nearly a year to get going. So we've been in dressage training for just shy of 2 years. So his background is he came from up north. So he came from Wilmington, which is near the Flinders Ranges in South Australia. And his initial training, so during his breaking, an initial training, it was actually for cutting and reining. So, you know, he was more cow horse sport trained, which has been great because that means he's got a lot of, you know, the lateral movements. However, for cutting and reining, lateral movements are often without bend. So they do it with a straight body. And you know, this is why we are still really working on the lateral suppleness, is because we've almost had to work through unlearning to learn. So, you know, all the sideways, the lateral movement's great, but almost unlearning the way in which he did them and then relearning to do them with bend through the body. And for anyone else that has horses, you know, and rides at home and gets videos of yourself, see there, my legs are not still. Yeah, I'm continually trying to find different ways to work on my legs, and ways to keep them still. But it's interesting, I did watch a video recently that had about when many of us learn to ride initially, we're actually told to stand in the trot rise. And I think that's half my problem. If you see there, I'm standing straight up rather than supporting with my inner thighs, and then just using my stirrups as platforms. Now you'll also see with Marty, as you watch through any of our videos and training, whether they're training videos or competition or anything else, he's almost feels like a different horse to ride on the left rein than he does the right. So he is the right side of his body, so his off side of his body is his stiff side, and it's much more stiff than the near side, which means when we're on the left rein, so when his off side of his body is on the outside of the circle, which is his stiff side, he really does struggle with the bend. And so we put a lot of focus on doing the suppleness and bending exercises on the left rein, just to continue to try and help improve that. And even in his canter, he feels like a different horse to ride than on his right rein. And so we do the exercises slightly different on each rein, just to try and, not just to try and cater for that, but just to try and concentrate on improving the bend on the left rein. So you see the inside leg there, for me, is really having to try and work to try and go, come on, bend through those ribs, give me, because basically on the left rein, the moment I let go of that inside rein, he will actually go around bending to the outside, so bending to the right. So yeah, it's just continually, and yeah, I can see he's overbent there too. He's also a horse that does take a while to warm up, to really be able to bend and use his body. And so he does have a tendency, like when we start our ride, to overbend a bit, and then you'll see, like as we get further into the ride, he starts to come up more naturally. And he is naturally, he's soft-mouthed, which is really nice. But yeah, it's more the stiffness through the neck and through the rib cage. And again there where you see like he's going, yes, absolutely, he's going overbent to the inside. But that's because he's not actually giving. He's just like, oh yeah, I'll just bend my neck more. But his body is still super stiff, so I'm just going, no, come on, you can do it. And then you can see as soon as he lets go, I'll let go. And so we actually did this as a part of a lesson that we had with Thomas Muhlenbeck. We went through some exercises like this. And so we did this for, 2-3 rides, I think it was, after the Thomas lesson. We really concentrated on it. And this was the last time I really concentrated on it. So since then, we haven't been doing these designated sort of bending exercises on the circle. We've been going back to like the exercises that we will generally work through, just being more conscious of the bend and being more conscious of him, just asking every now and again for that give on the inside rein. So now we are moving on to doing some leg yield. So it's really about still keeping that softness in the neck on that inside rein, and then trying to just make sure that he doesn't fall through the outside shoulder. So he really does have a tendency of trying to do that a bit. So as much as we're trying to keep that softness to the inside, also just trying to keep the outside shoulder. And as you can see there, it could be much better, so we just need to keep working on that. Generally, when we're working on leg yields, I'll try and do, depending on how he's going, how he's feeling, I'll do 2 or 3 on each rein. And then here, we're just starting to play with some shoulder in as well, using those same concepts. And there he came around the corner, and he does have a tendency of thinking he can motorbike around the corner and then go tearing down the long side. So I will generally do a circle, just if we come around that corner and he's feeling like he's starting to tense up a bit. As you can see here, doing a bit of travers. Still very much working on my sit trot, and with keeping that bend through the body, he was also finding that a little bit difficult. So I'm trying to bring sit trot into our work a bit more each ride. It's been a bit of a gradual process, and I think I was saying earlier about doing stretches and exercises for myself. That's really about also trying to improve my flexibility through my hip flexors to help me with my sit trot. So on the other rein, we're now just doing a bit of leg yield. And again, this is the left rein is the one that he really struggles with, so he really does try and keep his body straight and then fall through the shoulder. So it's about a lot of adjustments in the leg yield on this rein, which you can see at times. We might go forward for a step and then we go sideways again, just to make sure that we are keeping the outside shoulder, so the offside shoulder. And yeah, so you see here, he just, on this rein, we'll often do 3 of them, just because we do just need to keep working on that. But as you can see, he's got some pretty good crossover there. I could have my reins slightly shorter, And I'm not actually sitting on my seat properly there either. So again, that's something I need to be conscious of. But I didn't do too bad at keeping the inside rein open. So yeah, this is not a great shoulder in, but that's the start of our shoulder in. He still needs more bend, and he's really just bending his neck rather than softening through his body and giving to the inside leg. And by the looks there, so I've gone into sit trot again. By the looks there, I could have more outside rein. I've got too much neck bend there. So something for me to work on too. And then into travers. So on this rein, it's really important for me, and I'm still working on it, is keeping my weight to the inside seat bone. See how I have that tendency of falling to the outside. But yeah, I need to keep the inside seat bone and keep the, the left, right, and make sure that that inside leg is still telling him to step forward. Yep, and that one could be much better. I have duck arms and I've come up off of my seat, so I'm not using my core, and I'm not sitting on my tailbone as much as I should. So when I say using my core is shortening between the sternum and the belly button, and then making my spine long, which then in turn tucks the pelvis and sits me on my tailbone. So yeah, that one could have been much better. So that's something I need to work on myself. So, previously, like, I have gotten a number of horses to novice, but I haven't had a horse consistently at elementary level and above. So doing these exercises on a regular basis is new for myself as well. So just a bit of shoulder forward, again, just trying to get that softening in the on the inside of the body. He really struggles on this left rein, and we're continually working on that. And yeah, keen to actually hear whether anyone has any useful exercises. Like, I'm using the ones that I know. This here, this right here, could have had a bit more variety, I think, in some of the exercises. Oh yeah, that's right. So we've gone onto the circle here now, and what we're doing is, again, just to try and get that suppleness, that longitudinal suppleness, is on the circle is going into shoulder in or shoulder four, and then into travers, just to keep him, moving and almost wiggling the body in some respect. But because he does have a tendency of, if we're in a circle, if we're going down to the long side, he's like, oh yeah, I know, and just kind of tries to barge forward and drop his shoulders and arch his back. So yeah, he just tries to find those tricks to wriggle out, whereas when we're constantly changing the shape and the bend and the like, so between shoulder four and travers, he doesn't have as much of that opportunity to do that, and so that just kind of, he helps teach him to keep himself soft. And then here, we're just doing the same on the other rein, so switching between shoulder four and travers on the on the circle in sit trot. And so you can already see there how much easier, particularly he finds the travers to do, so particularly how much easier he finds to bring the quarters in compared to the other aim. And so now we're going into our canter work. And that's the general process for us when we do our rides at home, is that we will do plenty of walk to begin with, and we build up in our trot, and then we go into our canter work. And then depending on what the plan is for the ride, sometimes I will switch that up. So I'll do the basics in the trot, then I'll go into some of the canter, and then we'll move back to some of the more difficult moves in the trot. So something like if we want to have a practice of beginnings of half pass, I'll often do the canter work and then go back to trot half pass. And obviously in between all of these exercises and bits of work, we are having walk stretches just to make sure that we are giving his body a bit of a break. So with the canter, obviously first canter is still just kind of warming up. So and here what we are actually practicing is some of our lateral work or lateral movements in the canter. So we're just turning on to the quarter line and then leg yielding out to the long side, out to the fence. Again, that's just really promoting, asking him to bend his body around the inside leg, but also for him to take a little bit more weight on the outside rein. So, getting off that reliance of me being very conscious of not having weight on the inside rein, or not as much weight, and that one is for balance and flexion and the like, and kind of thinking about that concept of inside leg to outside rein is the intent of it. As you saw a moment ago, we're also practicing our canter to walk transitions. And then it's again, it depends on how he feels in the ride too, as to firstly whether we practice them, how much we practice them, and then in what exercises we practice them as well. Is it general transitions, or do we practice our serpentines? I really just kind of judge that on how he feels on the day. And also whether we're doing both walk to canter transitions and canter to walk transitions, or whether we're just concentrating on one, because he can have a tendency, because he's such a trier, like he's a bit of a dude, this horse, such a trier. If you try and do all of them in the one ride, he starts to get himself a little bit anxious, and because he's an over trier, he'll try and throw everything at you. If you ask for everything, he'll confuse himself and start throwing everything at you. So I try and really concentrate on one for each ride, particularly while we're still getting really established in these higher movements. Higher movements for us, and certainly higher than just the basics. And then this is our first canter on the left rein. So again, it's no different to our warm up in the trot. It's just working on the basics, working on relaxation, getting some straight lines, getting some circles. Again, his difficult rein, so continually just trying to ask him to bend the inside of his body. And, you know, from what from riding him, I don't think it's so much the bending to the inside, it's the stretching the outside. So stretching the offside is where he struggles with it. Because that's what he'd prefer to do is, you know, if you're not working on that and you just let him go, if you just sit there, he will bend to the outside, even in the canter. So even, you know, if I'm not working on it and I'm still just trying to, yes, it's probably a bit more than what it should be, but that's because he really does try and resist that bend. And here, that could be much better, but what that is supposed to be is a shoulder in, canter shoulder in. But that just highlights there, he will bend the neck rather than give the inside of his body to the inside leg. Oh, watching it back again. So, yeah, I mean, you know, that's still a bit of a struggle. Our canter has come a long way, a massive way from where it was when we started. His canter initially was almost on the spot. And so really had to kind of ride it forward, and then he'd almost run. And, yeah, whoopsies there. We just dropped out a bit. And then got himself a little bit muddled and a little bit muddled in there. And then this one was my mistake. He actually took the correct lead, and I thought he took the incorrect lead again. And we've got it. So get a circle. So yeah, the canter is getting there. It still needs more work. And he does try and run himself into the ground a little bit. Come on. Just asking for that shoulder in is really hard for him, but I have found, and as much as it's far from perfect, travers there, so that was intentional, the quarters in. But yeah, what I've found, as much as it is difficult for him, and I'm just trying to stay as soft as possible on him, so travers there, and then asking for the shoulder in, it has been helping a lot. It has been helping a lot with strength in the hindquarters. And so it would just be a matter of, so what I try and do is I really only try and really concentrate on these sorts of exercise about once or twice a week, because otherwise it's too much for his body. We'll then also work on movements, and so here we go into the leg yield again on the other rein in canter. And as you see there, we kind of overshot the quarter line a bit, so it was only a few meters to leg yield, but it's still, because it's asking the inside hind to cross over the outside hind, is still really working on strengthening the hind quarters. And here we go again. Yeah, so as I was saying, like, we'll really only do an intensive sort of one of these longitudinal suppleness rides once or twice a week, then once or twice training actual movements, and then I'll try and make sure that we have at least one ride of doing something different, whether it's forest ride down the beach, poles. Yeah, it's a little bit worked up with poles. He can do them. Maybe that just means we need to do more of them. But otherwise, yeah, we do try and keep as much variety as possible. So yeah, this is near the end of the ride now. So again, really just try and, particularly after we've finished our canter, is try and do trot on a long rein. He really struggles with balance, so it doesn't particularly look like on a long rein. However, I just kind of sit there and wait for him to take the bit forward and down and play with it while I'm waiting for that as well. Because again, with that bit of lack of balance, when I let the reins forward, he will often lose balance and then run onto the forehand. So it's really just making sure that he's still got enough support there. And then plenty of walking time to allow him to cool down. Nice to see there that he's over tracking. Nice to see there, you can see once we've finished our ride, the difference in his head carriage and where it is. So you can see, he's got that nose much more forward now. And so that's why I understand there are moments in our ride where we don't have that, where he does go over bent. But it's just trying to make sure that I'm doing what I can to help support him and his body to build the muscles, build the strength and build the balance to be able to carry himself in a correct and relaxed manner is the most important thing I feel out of it all. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching that and hearing some of my thoughts during our ride. I hope my voice wasn't too monotonous. Please do like, subscribe, comment if you did enjoy this content, if you do want to see more of it, if there was anything specific that you would like to see more of it. But otherwise, thank you very much. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.